Morning guys, 4th of September, Sunday, about 6:05 in the morning. Frenchie, my buddy, suggested that I do a sort of an update for people because a number of people of you are asking how are things going and all that, and I try and answer you individually, but maybe a little bit of video will help a little bit better. So really what I want to do with this video, this particular video, is two things. Number one, just to give you an update on how I'm getting on. And number two, really try and give some of you out there who have reached out to me in regard to their own challenges along similar lines as myself. You know, what am I doing to sort of keep my spirits up, and any tips and all that sort of stuff. Of course, you've got to keep into account that everybody's situation is very different. My situation is very different to some of my friends out there. And some of their friends' who are going through similar challenges. So this is specific to me. So this is a video about me, another video about me. But anyway, you just have to get used to that, take it on head. So what I want to do, I want to talk a little bit about the current state of play, where things sit at the moment. And then keeping the sports analogy going, I want to talk about the sort of the long-term race strategy, if you like, against NOBBY. And then some of the sort of, if you like, the race tactics, the immediate things I'm doing to sort of try and take NOBBY on and beat him to the finishing line. So let's talk about how things are at the moment. I'm now 8 weeks into it since I had the slit across the head, the removal of the brain, I put it back in, and the rewiring of it all. I'm sort of. That involved 6 weeks of intensive chemo and radiotherapy. And as you know, the parting on my hair has somewhat gone. I had hair on this side, but I had no hair on this side where the kryptonite was pointed at me. So the net result is I decided to take the whole lot off, and it fell down to here. But that's another story. So that's why I'm sort of looking a bit like a bulldog coot at the moment, and that is beginning to change. I can see the hair beginning to grow back. Whether I keep it going depends on how I'm feeling. It takes a bit of getting used to, because not that I'm vain, but vanity does come into this, and having had hair for 68 years and then suddenly not having hair, it's a bit of something to get used to anyway, let's put it like that. In terms of energy levels, I'd say compared to when I was at the peak of my fitness, say 8-10 weeks ago, I'm probably around about 20% in terms of energy levels. In terms of strength, probably about the same, because although it has affected this side of the body, the left-hand side of my body, the lack of strength seems to go across the whole of the body. So my legs are a little bit weaker, my arms are a little bit weaker. I think partly because I'm not using them. The key is to force the bad arm to be used and not rely on good old right hand. And as you remember, I'm a lefty. So that's caused me to do all sorts of things, like change my signature, learn how to rebutton a shirt, tie up shoes, etc., 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 in a different way. So those little coping strategies, if you like. In terms of mobility, I am pretty mobile. At the beginning, you saw me doing a catwalk. I don't know why I wanted to do a catwalk, but I felt in the mood of doing a catwalk. So I'm moving okay, but I have to have my hand behind my back, because otherwise this arm swings around like a huge pendulum and I can go weaving along. People think I'm drunk or something, which of course I'm not. In terms of appetite, good. I'm eating probably more than ever before, actually. In terms of sleep, sporadic. So today I probably had three hours sleep, woke up, hour awake, another couple of hours sleep. It's that sort of pattern that I was getting. So it leaves you a little bit sort of jaded in the morning. And then when you pop these 2 pills I have to take, one of which is a sort of an anti-seizure pill, to stop me basically doing somersaults and cartwheels across the courtyard here. And then the other one is a steroid, which works in conjunction with the anti-seizure pills, which basically does 2 things. Number one, it gives you a little bit of a high, It's not like an opioid, but it does give you a little bit of a high. And second, it does reduce swelling or potential swelling here where the op was. But I'm on literally half of what I was a week ago. They've completely cut back on all of the drugs, and for me that's really good, because putting things into this temple I call my body, having tried to look after it for so many years, is a bit of a bridge too far. So the less drugs I have, the better. However, in the long term, there's going to be more of this. So what I'm moving to here, I've had 2 weeks of no chemo, no radiotherapy, and I've got 2 weeks left, and then I go into this cycle of 1 week chemo, double dose, 3 weeks off, 1 week chemo, double dose, 3 weeks off, and so on. So basically, it's a 6-month cycle to see what can happen. And there, as I say, there are a lot of unknowns in regard to this particular NOBBY up here. And so really we're sort of shooting in the dark, other than that we know that this is a very, very competitive, let's call him fellow at the top in my head here. So it's really me against him. So my long-term strategy is very much what I've just described. Long-term chemo and all that sort of stuff. Short-term is the interesting stuff, I think, anyway. Because short-term, I'm picking up more and more ways of coping with this in different parts of it. So, for example, if we take something, let's say focus, it's really important to keep a routine going. So every day I will be down here on the patio with a structure. I know what I'll be doing. I'll be talking to people on the phone. I will be sending voice mails to people. I will be answering people's queries and questions, and I'll be connecting with people who are trying to connect with me, and so on and so forth. So that's sort of the way I'm sort of keeping a structure and a focus to it. And that helps you sort of remain positive and retaining this sense of tumour and remembering it's all in the head. Sorry about that, it's a bit corny, isn't it? But I thought I had to do something like that. So that's one of the things I'm doing. The second thing I'm doing is, during the day, making sure I've got little things to look forward to. So, for example, I've got breakfast with 3 of my friends this morning. So I'm looking forward to that at the club, at the paddling club. Keeping in contact with friends is really, really important in this. And, you know, for some it's awkward. They don't quite know what to say to you. But in fact, most of mine know exactly what to say to me, some of which I can't actually repeat here. You know, that's very important, to share how you're feeling, but not to go over the top. The last thing you want to do is go to a breakfast meeting and start talking about what you're feeling like and how ill you are or how well you are and all that sort of stuff. So it's avoiding that, but just remaining focused. Starting a day, focused, structured, knowing what's going to, having a bit of a plan for the day. So I've got all sorts of things going on that keep me, if you like, engaged throughout the whole of this challenge I'm going through at the moment. Other things include, you know, these micro moments that are important. You suddenly realise that we've all got a certain lifespan. Nobody knows how long it is. None of us do. I mean, who would have guessed this would have happened? This was as I've said earlier video, this is a 180. And it's just a complete surprise, really. So nobody knows what's going to happen. So you make the most of the moments. It makes you value the little things in life that you took for granted and didn't even notice before. And I think that's been a big awakening for me, how important the little things are. You know, friends, family, people caring for you, messages, all this sort of stuff. So that's very important. The third thing I'd say is you've got to have a purpose, a sort of, I'm not talking about a mega purpose, but you've got to have something that you aim at and keep going at. So for me, the coaching process is very important. This is my business that I do, sort of executive coaching, where you can share some of your experiences, including these experiences, because I'm sort of learning things during this that are actually relevant to managerial situations, which I think was again a bit of a surprise to me, but there you go. But the other purpose is having a thing. So I've got another project, for example, where I'm working in conjunction with the Pot Fulham Farm project, I call it. So I've got people, a couple of friends are involved with me. Some of the Pot Fulham villagers are involved. Someone called Nigel Coe and Benjamin Sin, working with them to bring in a tractor, a vintage tractor from South Africa, Fishhook area. And this tractor is going to form the centerpiece of the museum. Because the Pot Fulham Farm, where the old Braemar farm manager's house, is actually been turned into a museum. It's already been converted. And now it's a case of populating it with artifacts of historical interest related to dairy farming, of course, hence the dairy farm connection. And we found this, one of my South African friends sourced this thing called a Valjapi, which I think means a grey country boy, in South Africa. We had it completely renovated, and now we're in the process of shipping it here into Hong Kong, as I say, to become the centerpiece of this museum. So that's pretty exciting. Maybe a vintage tractor doesn't turn a lot of you on, but I tell you, it's a really interesting thing, learning about the tractor, dealing with, you know, big companies, getting donations from big companies, and the bureaucracy can be involved in that. And then dealing with a supplier who's basically a farmer. You know, if you ask him for a business registration certificate, he blinks, looks at you like you come from another planet, and sort of grunts something in Afrikaans at you, which is probably not very polite. Anyway, so that's all a bit of a laugh as well. Other things. Then there's, of course, there's a whole area of building and maintaining strength. So I've gone on to a thing called the keto diet, which you can look up if you want to, Keto. It's a very different diet than one I was on. It's very predominantly plant-based, as I've mentioned before. The keto diet is very low on starch because starch turns to glucose and that feeds the tumour. Very low starch, very high on protein. So I'm having to eat stuff that I didn't before. So, for example, a lot of fish, a bit of chicken and all that sort of stuff, even cheese. Stuff I never really used to eat before, but do so now. Also, interesting aspects of it, for example, you could eat anything that grows above the ground, but in theory not below the ground. So no roots like potatoes or yams or sweet potatoes, but you know, things that live well, like avocados and all that sort of stuff you can eat. And you have to migrate across to it slowly, because a sudden change in pattern of your diet can make you very tired. I've sort of made that transition, and the family and friends that we have very much support that, so we can go. It's not too difficult to work out keto diet if you go outside, so that's pretty good. That's helping. And then there's the whole area of exercise. So I have an exercise bike, compliments of Decathlon. Really good bike, I have to say, it's really good. And again, and Decathlon have been superb in that regard. And they, so this bike, it's just a static bike. So I'm sort of building up. So yesterday I did 7 kilometers, flat. I can't remember how long it took me, maybe 20 minutes. But at least you're keeping your legs moving and getting a system flowing and the blood flowing and so on and so forth. So there's the whole exercise piece. I've got a series of sit down, stand up exercises, you know, sort of standing up and down on your toes, walking in bare feet all around the road. I mean, just outside the house here. So you can get the sensation. That helps with your balance because of the feeling coming through the feet, the sensitivity of the feet. So that's good. The other thing I'm doing, of course, which I find very interesting, is the whole rehabilitation process to try and get this to work again, this side of the body to work. So, as I said before, I can sort of do that, and that's it. That's all I can do on that side. From the elbow downwards, it's basically inert, or it doesn't work. So, as I've mentioned before, I have someone called Professor Herman Lau, who's given me a lot of attention, and it's two things. Number one is rewiring the brain, and you do this by putting electrodes onto different muscles, and then you have to imagine that as the electric current fires and the muscle contracts, it's actually you that's doing it, not the electric current. So you're almost tricking your brain into thinking, oh, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. That's one of them. It's sort of electrotherapy type, getting the brain to start building new pathways or new signal lines down to the hand through trickery, smoke and mirrors, you might say. So there's that. And then the other one they've got is, I've got all sorts, I'm going to show you, you'll see some videos of this above my head appearing as we go. Others are that give you a reward. So one of the ones is like a joystick, which you'll see. And what happens is the brain has to be rewarded. Dopamine, I think it releases some kind of drug that makes you happy. It's not endorphin, it's dopamine or something like that anyway. So if the brain is also rewarded for doing that, it reinforces the growth of those neural pathways. So that's good as well. So that's the other thing I'm doing, is the whole fitness diet thing. In the looking to the future, we don't really know what's going to happen. You know, it's going to depend on an MRI scan, I guess, which will be in about 6 weeks from now, and that will tell you whether we've made any progression, whether I'm ahead of Nobby or he's ahead of me. We will find out. But either way, you've just got to focus, keep focused, have a very clear purpose, work on the basis that you're going to win this race, and you know, keep your mood up, keep your spirits up, through all those different ways I've actually said to you, and basically move on. Just say, you know, what will be will be. You know, a lot of people have a lot of different illnesses to cope with, whether it be people who've got, you know, intensely high blood pressure, have had bypasses, things they can't get rid of, they just got to live with now. And in some cases they have to live with them through the help of pills and so on. And that's really, I think, going to be my life going onwards. I'm just going to have to live with this the best I can, make the most of it, and take the odd pill, which I don't like doing, but there we go, no choice in that. And basically, you know, stay focused, positive, happy, good mood, eat well, try and sleep well, stick with your friends, be very, very tenacious in the exercise and the therapy that's given to you, and you know, think positive. I mean, those are all obvious things, I know, but I can't help but repeat them because they are so important. Being positive about where this is all going, and that's what I'm going to continue to be and continue to remain. So on that note, I will now sign off. This is about 18 minutes long, this video, so hopefully you haven't gone to sleep yet, or you've watched it in 2 parts. So on that note, I wish you a very nice weekend, for those who have had a weekend, or those who get it this week, a very nice week. And again, thanks for everything to all of you out there helping me.